But let's move into what is becoming one of my favorite segments, and it's one of my favorite segments because I got to do it with my dad. And this is part 2 of the interview with my dad, local legend Brian Blumhorst. So let's throw it to that interview. All right, everybody, we went a little bit long on that one, so here is episode 2 with my dad, Brian Blumhorst. All right, so let's get into it. Obviously, you've been, the golf has been amazing this summer, but you've been golfing as much, and you're still golfing right now for the simple fact that you retired from teaching and coaching at literally the most opportune time that any single human could retire. What does that feel like? Like, that's got to be a great feeling.
Here it is. Just yesterday is the first time I felt retired because, all my buddies are back teaching and back at school. And so I'm like out on the golf course by myself and there's like nobody around. And I think about I'm just so glad that I don't have to deal with what's going on
the
right
craziness.
now. Yeah, just insane. And it's just, it's so much of it is just kind of off the cuff, and there's a lot of great teachers out there just doing the best they can
to get by.
And it's just the only unfortunate part was my last day in the classroom was Friday the 13th of March.
Exactly.
And who goes out on March 13th?
Right. You couldn't even go out with like a parade or a bang or like kids putting the signs up.
Right.
Or like,
and that part's okay, but it was just so anticlimactic.
Yeah, definitely. But like, you get a taste of it with, me and, your other kids, Brian and Trey, being teachers, that like, you still get to see what it is, but you know that you don't have to deal with it. Correct. That's got to be a decent little feeling. Yeah. But, man, the most opportune time with all the craziness.
Absolutely.
But at the end of the day, though, you're getting to be out on the golf course, so it's hard for anybody to feel real bad for you.
Yes, I golf every day.
No, for sure. But let's go all the way back now. You are from a town that probably not a lot of people that listen to this show know about.
The cultural center of the Midwest.
Malden, Illinois, for those of you that don't know, if you're driving west on 80 and you get near the is it 180 that runs south?
180
so
runs
if you
south.
make that big loop to run south, you look off of the side of the ramp.
You get off on 180, you take Route 6 back towards Princeton. You take the first country road back to the right. That takes you into would take you straight into the big town of Dover.
Yep.
But if you go to that second stop sign and take a right, then that takes
you can
see the red, white, and blue water tower.
That's what I'm saying. If you're on 80 and you're going past 180, look over, you'll see the icy water water tower. Yeah. It looks like a giant icy. But you graduated from Malden in 1981, right?
Yep.
Okay. And you're in the top 5 scoring at Malden of all time, right? You are. I didn't think you were one.
No,
I thought there was a controversy about this.
No. I'm number one.
All right. Number one.
Yeah, I don't know the because I'm not sure what you'd have to ask Kevin Hieronymus. It's number one at Malden.
Yeah,
and I don't know what it is in the county.
Okay,
but that's the great thing for me growing up in when I graduated, I think there were 61 kids in the whole high school.
Wow.
And my graduating class was huge. We had 17. So I not only did I know all of my classmates, I knew their mom and dads, I knew their aunts and uncles, their grandma and grandpas. I mean, so it was definitely a pretty tight-knit family while you were there. But the other opportunities were just great. I can remember, I think I was 8 or 9 years old starting out in minor league baseball. Mm-hmm. And then, when I think I was 9 and the coach at the time, Mike Farley, who's still a big Princeton fan, and Augustana fan, he was the Little League coach, and he was friends with my dad, and he pulled my dad and I to the side and said, well, you're probably as good, if not better, than some of these 13-year-olds, but we got to keep you on minor leagues. You're second year.
And to develop with the guys that were your age.
And I'm 9 years. I just want to play. I was like, it's okay, not a big deal. And then when I did get to play my first game, I'm playing third base, and I have 5 errors, and all of them were pretty much throwing. I could pick it, but I was just a nervous wreck. And give Mike Farley a lot of credit that the next day at practice, he said, hey, can you stick around after? My dad was like, so he hit like ground balls to me for like half an hour, and I think my dad was with the first baseman. I don't think I had maybe one error the rest of the way through, but a 10-year-old going against 13. So that was and then in my last year we had again, another Malden coach, Billy Carlson there. So, and we end up winning the league.
Right.
You know, here's little old Malden, and we won the Barrel Valley League there. And then, of course, had my dad in Pony League, which really helped me with the hitting and pitching part of it. And then in basketball, we got to go out in 4th grade.
That's crazy.
You know,
you don't hear that hardly.
You don't
like
hear
5th
that.
grade is kind of the average starting point around here, but even then it's
right.
damn near like, intramural, instructional stuff, like to actually play games in 4th grade.
And so literally in 4th grade, now we didn't get to do a whole, because you got to imagine it's one coach coaching 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th. So, and we're in this Malden grade school gym, which is so small that the free throw line is still the old key.
Oh, yeah.
In which they had to paint on the new lines on the outer side of the circle to make it a regular lane. And the 2 free throw circles interlocked with
cow.
a jump circle. So that meant that your 10-second line, you had
was the opposite free throw
line, but your over and back was your free throw line. So you kind of had to get it down, and then you could bring it back.
Right.
I mean, it was just so you have 50 kids in this small gym, and so basically, as a 4th grader, all we got to do, and we thought it was great. I mean, we got to rebound because the 7th grade team, which was mainly 7th and 8th graders, were at one end. And the 7th grade team, which was the rest of the 7th graders, and the 6th graders were at the other end. And we got to rebound for them.
Yeah.
We thought, oh, my God, this is great. We got to rebound. And so, I mean, these 8th graders, they were gods to us back then.
And especially, like you said, with the small town factor in it, like you went to all those games. You looked up to all those guys.
Games. Absolutely. So the only thing we got to do was like the first half an hour or so, we did ball handling every time and layup drill, And then basically the next hour and a half, we sat on the stage, and we got to learn that way.
Watching run plays.
So when we got in there, man, we knew what we were doing, or you just didn't get a chance to play.
And then you guys, you had success later in high school. You struggled right at the beginning.
Yeah.
You told me when you were younger, like your freshman and sophomore year, you guys were brutal.
Oh, yeah.
But by the time your junior and senior year, everything started to kind of come together, right?
Yeah, and you're talking about those opportunities. But I remember in 4th grade going to a Boy Scout meeting instead of to a because we even got to dress like for the 7th and 8th grade games. We went to a Boy Scout meeting because I knew I was never going to play.
Yeah.
But then in 5th grade, I actually got the chance to start on the 7th grade, not because I was actually pretty bad, but and we had so few 8th graders that the 7th graders had to, so they combined the 7th and 8th grade, I think, to get 11 or 12 kids.
Jeez.
So there was like 4 6th graders and me started on the 7th grade team, and again, I think we got second to last.
Oh, yeah.
We just got killed. But then they brought those 7th graders down for the conference tournament, and the conference champs, the undefeated conference champs, which was Tisqual at the time, beat us by like 2 or 3.
Okay.
And then I'm still terrible, and I'm going into my 6th grade year, and I'll never forget Lloyd Johnson, who I had
famous
for 9 years.
Lloyd Johnson,
the Ohio Bulldogs. State runner-up. I had him for 9 years, and I'll never forget a Christmas vacation. He kind of pulls me off to the side after practice, and he goes, look, you're going to have to take what you do in practice sometime, and you're going to have to start doing it in the game. Because at that time, I was the greatest practice player. But when I went to games, I sucked. I was just a nervous wreck. And he said, you just got to learn to relax and just pretend every game is practice. And for some reason, that stuck with me. And after that, I was fine. We were okay. And then you're right. My freshman year, I think we won 3 games.
Yeah.
But Lloyd was just taking over, and
so that was early in Lloyd's tenure.
That was his first year as a high school coach. Yep. So, and then we just got better each year, and had a lot of success those last 2 years.
That's awesome. And then you went and played 1 year at Illinois Wesleyan before moving on to Northern. Do you ever regret not staying at Wesleyan and playing?
No. I think if I have any regrets is not taking Dean Riley, who was an Ottawa coach at the time, and he was at IVCC, not taking him up on a chance to go play at IVCC.
Right.
That's my only regret. I think by the time I left Wesleyan. I was kind of just done with sports.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, especially if you were starting in 4th grade and in Malden, like you had to play everything.
Right,
you know, like
right.
it didn't matter the sport. It's like, hey, you better get out there because we got 4 guys for the basketball team tonight.
Right,
you know,
right.
like,
And we played baseball, you know, basically for 3 or 4 months of the summer. But then the other months was all basketball.
Yeah.
Because we didn't have any other sports
Exactly.
other than track. So. And we just did track just to get in shape for basketball
because it was nice out.
Yeah,
let's get out.
Right,
so.
exactly. So yeah, I mean, I didn't regret it at all. By the time I went to Northern, I was ready to get on to the next stage of my life.
Definitely.
I was ready to get ready for my career.
For sure. And then speaking of your career, obviously you get into teaching and coaching. You've taught and coached at Tampico, Anawan, Polo, and Mendota. I'm not leaving any out, am I? That's all of them?
In the right order. Yeah.
I thought I had that right.
My first teaching job was at Deer Grove.
Yes.
Which is now, I think, a gear company.
Yeah, something like that.
And they
Sauk
had
Valley
7th and 8th
company.
graders. And so I taught junior high science, and then I coached the 6th and 7th grade boys basketball and sophomore basketball with a guy named Steve Larson and Jimmy Brandow, who again is an Ohio boy, who was at Memorial, and just loved it. And I literally took the job at Anawan like the weekend before school was supposed to start.
Yeah,
I mean, it was just it's Bruce Plassick, again another local name that went from Anawan to Princeton, left, and so I took his teaching job and the coaching job there, and I was there for 6 years. From there, went to Polo for 3, and then really came back to Mendota and spent the next 22 years because it was right between. It was literally perfect location between my parents living in Malden still, and my wife's parents living in Waterman. So it worked out beautifully for us, for a family.
And then, as they say, the rest is history. You've coached everything from boys varsity, sophomore boys basketball, varsity boys basketball, freshman girls basketball, sophomore girls basketball, assistant varsity girls basketball, freshman baseball, assistant sophomore varsity baseball, golf, head coach, and something on the football team. You were some sort of coordinator, freshman.
And I think I even coached Brienne's volleyball team for a tournament in Seneca.
So are you sure you don't want to just go back and take take the cross country team for you? Just make the whole round. Just be like the first person in Illinois history to coach every sport at one school.
Yeah, no, I think I'll pass. Because the biggest thing anymore is I just the commitment to summer is
there is really none.
Yeah, it's overwhelming.
Especially when you're coaching so many sports, because in Illinois, if you don't know, like basketball gets a certain amount of days and volleyball gets a certain amount of days.
25 days.
Yeah, so
25
and then if you're doing football, then you're into July.
It's 50 days that you're, and I know some of them they'll do football and basketball on the same day, but that commitment, especially if you're going to have young kids, it's actually a little bit easier as your kids get into high school.
Right.
It actually, as long as they go to your school.
Yeah, definitely.
If they're going to another school, then that makes it a whole nother story.
For sure.
But yeah, I mean, I guess the biggest thing that I miss about the coaching is, being around the kids.
Definitely.
It's going to the practices. I really never. For me, and that's what it wasn't the games as much. I know when I first started, I was the coach that, was chasing the next big job and. I wanted to take a team to state, and then, I got to thank you.
Yeah,
I
you're
had
welcome.
Kids. Yeah, having kids, and it kind of put things back into the perspective about, really what is important, what's not important, and treating my players more like my kids.
Definitely,
and I think that helped me a lot.
Yeah, and you talk about, and you have had the success. You won a regional at Anawan in 90. Was that
90 or 91.
Okay, so 90,
we
91.
upset the 5th-ranked team in the state, Rock Island Allman.
And I know it's still
place.
a sore subject 30 years later, but the Orangeville game, you were a couple
Highland,
possessions away from.
Yeah, at Highland we got down big. We put a press on, and I'll never forget. We had an all-stater, Jason Sealis at the time was going up. And we were taking our first lead of the game, and he makes a steal on the press, and he's going to go up to dunk. And at Highland, they have a rubber court.
Yeah.
And
they don't anymore.
Foggy.
They're replacing it.
Thank God. But it was foggy and humid, and he kind of slipped a little bit, and he just laid it in. So we got our 2 points, and we took the first lead of the game, but our crowd was kind of like, they were kind of disappointed.
Yeah. Because that would have been nail in the coffin, not a dunk, man.
And we end up going into overtime, and so we're up. I think we're up 1 point. with like 4 seconds to go. And one of my best defenders, who Drew Van Kerbrock, who's now a doctor, slipped. And we left their all-stater wide open but it was like a turnaround, and he was a post player.
Oh, okay.
And we really my kids did a really good job defending him in the low block, and he caught this like at the elbow extended.
Okay.
And so they made one pass down the sideline, threw it into him, and Drew had slipped and fallen, and the kid turned around and he fake left, turned around, nothing but net at the buzzer. We lose by 1. And then they end up winning in overtime versus Dunlap, the next in super section.
Oh, my God.
It was so close.
Yeah, and
so
then
close.
Obviously as an assistant coach, you were there for Mendota's 2013 regional, their first since 99 with Trey, my brother, and your youngest son's team. So there has been the success, but like you nailed it, man, and it's the connections and everything that go along with it. Even teaching and coaching wise, is it still the kids, the interactions that you miss the most out of that?
And the thing about too is in Mendota that faculty there is really kind of a family there. I mean, it's one of the
it's funny you even say
groups.
that. Me and Jess were out at dinner tonight, and we ran into Bob Guerrero, who was the resource officer at school when I was there, and he came over and talked to. And I've been graduated for what are we talking, 11 years now, and he came over and talked. You're very right. It's very family. Sorry, my ADHD jumped into my brain there.
But it is. I mean, you walk down the hallway. Hey, how you doing? How's and you know their kids is and Mendota's done a great job of getting. Teachers now that their kids are going to come through the school.
Oh, yeah.
And so, they definitely care. They definitely want that school to be good. And I think that having shareholders there, stakeholders.
Definitely.
I think it just helps all the way around. So I do miss that. I miss, and now there's so many of those kids that I taught or coached. There, which adds another dimension, another layer to that. So
well, even think about all the kids that you like. Obviously, I coach there with you, and then all the guys even on our staff that are the head varsity baseball coach, the head girls basketball coach, the assistant varsity boys basketball, all the kids that you coach throughout, and even soccer coaches that it's the connection, and like it goes back to what you were talking about, Malden and that small town, family feeling, but. Before we wrap things up, what is the thing that you're looking forward to the most with retirement? I know I probably should have asked you this back in March when you actually got to retire.
I'm looking forward to, I'll probably go to all the Mendota home games. Yeah. But I'm also looking forward to, calling up my buddies and saying, hey, the game of the week is, so-and-so versus so-and-so at such and such. Hey, you want to go?
Right. One of those weird nights where, like, Simeon's playing in like the suburbs somehow.
Right. Or there's former teacher Rolling Meadows going up and seeing them.
We definitely got to go see Max Christie.
Even if the game of the week is LP at Ottawa, right? If it's it doesn't matter. Pick out whoever it is. Hey, let's go see this kid. And so I'm looking forward to that, is going and seeing games. And,
I'm very jealous. That's one of my favorites. And me and you do it during Christmas. Jump in the car. We ended up at Hinsdale Central and York last year, just driving around the suburbs.
That's fun. I mean, to me, that's going to, because what do we see? 4 or 5 Division I kids.
At least. And actually, now that more's coming out, like there was a kid we saw at DePaul Prep. They've got 3 kids that got D1 offers now. Right. So at the time, we probably saw 4 or 5 kids that were going D1 this year. We went back in December. But now we're looking at,
probably another 4 or 5.
Yeah, exactly, that we didn't even, consider at the time. There was a kid from, where was the big school?
And it's just a different different brand of basketball.
Oh, yeah. Hoffman. No, not Hoffman Estates. That's going to drive me nuts. They were red and black. They had the really big kid who's going to college at Charleston. Homewood Flossmoor. They've got a couple other D1 kids. So now anything like we've talked on the show a million times about the different baseball parks I've been to. Are you now that you have the time? Are you going to hit NBA stadiums? Are you doing hockey? What's the plan now that you can afford to do that?
We better not bring that up to your mom, to my wife. I don't know if she'd go for that. But I guess the only thing I kind of even remotely thought about was just because it would be easier to do are the football stadiums. Yeah. And actually, I guess there's so many, just like the Big Ten football stadiums around here. I've been to to Northwestern, and I've been to Illinois, and that's been about it. So just going to, those, and I guess, I still got to get to Arlington to see the Rangers' new stadium.
For sure.
So, and I still hope Tampa gets a new one. But, no, I think I still am going to enjoy going to, like, the Cub affiliates, going to South Bend, going to Des Moines, going to Myrtle Beach, going to the Smokies, and
see, and I think one would be good to knock out all like the Midwest League. Yeah, like that's a doable one too. Yeah. So,
and I will, but only if like the South Bend Cubs are there.
Right,
so it might take me a couple years for that. So, no, I don't have any goals. I just want to golf.
So I'm thinking that you knock the Midwest League out, and then from there you go and. You knock the hockey. Because you do hockey and basketball all in one,
right?
For the most part. Because there's very few cities that don't have both sports. But
you could.
It's doable. But we'll get a plan together.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, I'll help you concoct a little plan, and maybe get you in a little. You can blame it on me. Mom's not gonna be mad at me.
And now it probably is a little bit more doable in the wintertime. And,
definitely.
To be honest, I wouldn't mind going south for the winter.
You'd have to hit
so I could do all those southern ones.
Right, you'd have to hit all the north ones like early, like when the season starts in October, November, and then as the season goes, you just.
I'm going to have you run this past your mom.
I'm working. All right,
it's okay.
Mom, I know you're listening to this, so when you hear this, just know I'm working on a plan. I got this. But Dad, thank you so much. This was part 2. It was great having you in. I know we got some amazing feedback. So you're now a reoccurring guest on the show. So you have to come on anytime we ask you.
I'm going to start getting billing rights here.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we'll get you right on that. But anything else for the people before we let things go?
No, it's been a great, wonderful ride, and I can't. Coaching wise, can't thank my players and parents. For the most part, can't. It's been it's been a lot of fun, and kind of hard to believe sometimes they pay me to do what I was doing.
I could think of a couple that I wouldn't want to thank for you, but we'll keep that between us.
Yeah. There's always going to be those. But the good.
When you look at it,
99-1,
34 years,
right. When you can count the bad on one hand,
definitely
you've had a good career.
And I've only been doing it for a lot less time than that. 6 years, and I'm the same way. You don't think about the ones that cause the problem. It's the ones that you had a good connection with.
Yeah,
and the ones you see at dinner. And
the kids you taught that are doctors and lawyers and even truck drivers, the ones that are, they're doing
what are we going contributing members of society.
Correct.
Definitely, right. That's I think anybody that knows you knows that, that was, what you were, and you talked about it, early on wanting to win state championships, but then you realizing that at the end that, there's more important things. But I can't thank you enough. Thank you so much for coming on. Ladies and gentlemen, that was my dad, Brian Blumhorst, local legend. Thanks again to my dad, Brian Blumhorst, for jumping in with me and talking about a little bit more than his hole-in-ones on the golf course, talking about life. Being a retired teacher and coach and kind of moving on from that and looking to the next journey in his life. So one more time, thank you to my dad, Brian Blumhorst, for coming on.